QC record.
Recording.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Reviewcast, where I guess we're going to be talking about Cross. We're going to call it Crosscast. I am your host, Dana, and I am joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, good sir?
Doing good, Dana. What's up, listeners and viewers?
All right, so the first two episodes, the entire series dropped with Alex Cross, but we're gonna talk about the first two episodes. The first episode of that being Hero Complex, where we're kind of introduced. This is the introduction of who Alex Cross is and how this, for me, felt like is very different than the other iterations that we have seen him before. For those who don't know, this is based on this series of novels by Mr. James Patterson, who cranks them out basically like nothing, like 100 books in about an hour. And this follows, him being not just a detective, but really he's an analyst where he can get down into the brains and the nitty gritty of a criminal and criminal activities and understand what makes a killer a killer. And he knows how to decipher language, body, behavior, everything that when it comes to basically an analysis. And so we've seen previous iterations, like I said before, aside from just the book series. This is also was a movie starring Tom Cruise and also another one starring Tyler Perry, which was a choice. But let's just kind of dive into this. What were your initial thoughts when coming into this episode?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a huge fan of Aldis Hodge. I like a lot of the work that he's done. He's had a lot of different opportunities doing different types of movies, but I kind of feel as though it still felt to me like he needed to get something else that I can truly say he's known for, I felt. So when I heard he was involved with this project, I was definitely interested. To go to the point of what you said, it is a different take. I'm very familiar with the Tyler Perry movie that they did for this character, which I thought was a little comical. I give Tyler Perry his credit because he was doing the Medea stuff and he needed to step out of that to do something different. But with all due respect, this, in my opinion, is the best version of the character. It just feels like it's a lot more authentic, and obviously it takes place in DC. There's a grittiness of the DC. You get to see a lot of the stuff that's happening within the city. So yeah, my initial thoughts coming into the first episode is obviously I figured they were going to introduce us to the character. For those that may not know the history of the character or read any of the books, I think they did a pretty good job of explaining that in the first episode, giving you an idea of who this guy is, let you know that he has a family, and let you know that he's also dealing with the tragedy of losing his wife. So, there's a lot that I saw and I liked in this episode. And I also will give a shout out to, I believe, his friend on the show. His name is Isaiah Mustafa. This guy used to be in the Old Spice commercials. And so I'm very glad to see that this guy now, because he was in something else, again, not too long ago where he did a good job, another TV show or movie or something. So I'm glad to see he is branching out and doing more things now because he is very good actor, very good in the role so far as well. The great person for Alex to have in his corner, his very close friend and confidant. So I did like that for sure. But my initial thoughts is very much looking forward to the show, and I very much enjoyed what I have seen in terms of so far. Yeah.
No, he was also in like a bunch of Tyler Perry movies, I believe. But yeah, no, this is a completely original story. This is not based on any kind of book from the series. So this is an original killer, an original story, an original everything. And I really appreciate that because it's more about getting the essence of Alex Cross, the character across, as opposed to a cut and paste of here's what happened in this book. And well, that's not the same because the character looks this different. And kind of speaking about differently, what was your thoughts on? I mean, he's black again.
Well, I thought that was important. I mean, listen, there's a lot of I like to see them doing these shows. I know you mentioned that there was a Tom Cruise version. I don't remember anything about the Tom Cruise version. I have to be honest. I do remember the Tyler Perry version, and I thought to myself, again, Tyler Perry did an okay job, I guess, because for what the role was. But when they had an opportunity to do something again differently, I thought it would have been great to take a different angle with it, have a different actor step into the role. And again, I think that Aldridge did a great job as this character.
Aldis.
All yeah, the pronouncing is a little off. You said Aldis or Aldris. It's
Aldis. It's ALDIS. Wait, is it? I'm dyslexic.
No, it's D.
Do not
It's D.
listen
It's
to
D.
me.
DRIS. It's DRIS.
Wait, there's no D. Wait, yeah. Wait,
Oh
what?
no. You're right. My apologies. So if he's this review, I apologize, sir. You're right. There is no R. You are correct. So just to make so I don't butcher his name anymore, I'm just going to say Mr. Hodge. How about we do that? Mr. Hodge does a great job. And like I said before, he's been in a lot of different things that I've seen. Of course, the movie that you praised very heavily in the past called Black Adam. He was in that movie. I liked his character.
I like the visuals. I stand by the visuals.
Yeah, the visuals were good. I liked, but anything that he's in, I normally watch and support because I'm a fan of his work. So for them to have this cross character come back and become a black person, I didn't have the issue with that because again, I remember the Tyler Perry version. I assumed that it was going to be similar, but just a different actor. But I guess I would have to at some point go back and see this Tom Cruise version because I did not bother watching any of that. I don't remember any of that. Maybe it was good, but Tom Cruise to me is now known as the Mission Impossible guy, so it's hard for me to see him in anything else, except for Top Gun. But no, Mission Impossible is that's what he's known for now, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And kind of going on with the thing, I love how they're able to bring it by changing the race of the character. They're able to bring in storylines that affect Alex differently, as opposed to say Tom Cruise starring in it. We have the whole dynamic of him being an officer, and it's like, oh, how could you be a black man and be a cop? And it really shows kind of that racial dynamic. And no matter how smart he is, or what his job, and they introduce you to his intelligence, it's like, oh, I need you to stand here, for publicity stunt to show that the blacks are in charge. Don't worry. Look, I really did appreciate that.
I think that is an excellent observation. I'm glad you brought that up. I did appreciate that as well because I recall in this first episode he had that heated confrontation with the guy at the dinner table. Obviously, we know, Dana, you are a huge fan of these dinner table fights.
I love me some dinner scenes.
Yes. So when I saw that, and I said, but the guy, he raised a very important question when he said, oh, so how are you going to be treating your people if you are in this situation where you're protesting and now you have to lock these people up? So I'm glad that they are not afraid to touch upon these topics because I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff happens all over the world in various communities today. But it's an important topic that I think they need to touch upon. And then the other point I wanted to add is that you see in this show, at least from the first two episodes, what we've seen so far, there are some people that do look upon him as being very intelligent. He's very well known as a detective, but yet he is still vulnerable. And if somebody has an issue with him, they can still get to him, as we have seen so far with these two episodes. So I think it shows you once again, it doesn't matter the status that you are at, you still are treated as an everyday person. You still are vulnerable. Things can still happen to you. I think that's important. And then also the other point I want to touch upon is because we did mention at the beginning of this that his wife did pass away. This takes place a year after
she was
that.
Murdered.
Well, yeah, she was murdered.
Pass away is just so a soft
right.
term for being gunned down.
You're right. It was a very vicious murder. But I like the fact that they touch upon the importance of mental health because this is a guy that obviously, and again, it goes to the title of the hero complex. He did mention that he has a hero complex. He wants to protect everybody. to a fault, and sometimes if he's not able to do that, then it becomes an issue. But the fact that he didn't have any type of counseling when his wife, was viciously murdered for an entire year, it's like you really have to understand mental health. I think is very important in our community. The people need to get the help that they need, and because especially in his situation, because he has kids, you can't be carrying all of this stuff because you still need to be somewhat put together to take care of your kids, to be there for them when they run into an issue. So I think it's important to emphasize that once again, it is important to talk to somebody if you have any issues, because you don't want things to escalate. Now, obviously, we only have seen the first 2 episodes, so I would imagine things are going to get a lot more complex for him moving forward for the rest of the season, because he does have somebody that is stalking him, and of course this case, and it's all connected, and it is very much connected to his wife and finding out who also killed his wife. So I kind of feel like it's very important though to really be mindful of the importance of taking care of yourself, talking to those in your corner. You need some help, especially if you need it. You got to address it. So I'm glad that they're putting this stuff in the show.
No, I completely agree. I also had an issue with the L character because it's only been a year, and the way how she's moving is like, oh, your wife has been dead for 5 years. Come on, let's go. And I'm like, I'm upset with both of the characters because it's like your wife has only been dead a year, and you was about to put in your leave of absence. I don't like how they did that, but kind of going off with there's a lot of things that I loved and a lot of things that I didn't like with this. I felt that they were moments of cliched, behavior. The whole, when we're first introduced and oh boy, you get that whole racist segment to kind of show how, and I did like that it was an interesting dynamic between the two, but it was kind of like, to show how smart I am. So they put that in as kind of like, yeah.
That was very cliche, and that caught me off guard. I'm like, why is he talking about this type of stuff? Why? I understand where they're coming from, but I was not expecting him to have that type of confrontation or interaction with that guy. Very
Then
interesting.
it was like, right. Then you also had like, it's like he's putting in his leave of absence. It kind of was similar to my one last job before I retire. This is my last case.
Danny Glover.
He's not retiring. Right. He's not retiring so much, but it was like you saw him he's putting in the paperwork for his leave of absence where he's waiting to be approved. And she's like, the sergeant is like, well, we're going to have to do that later because I need you for this. So, yeah, there were a lot of kind of cliche moments for me.
I agree. I personally think he should have already been on that leave of absence. For an entire year, your wife is gone. That doesn't make any kind of sense. He should have been on a leave of absence immediately after that happened. So the fact that he stayed there working, and I understand maybe you need the distraction. You don't want to really address it at the moment. But yeah, to me, it just, if I have a wife and something like that happens to her, I'm not going to still be at work. That soon after this happens, I would have taken some time off. So,
but no, I agree. But it's also kind of interesting because it's like the dynamic of, does he take time off or does he try to get, solve what happened with his wife's case? And we never really do get to see that part, but we are told in conversation that 6 months of that 1 year, he was suspended.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
From the friend who said, you turned me in. I didn't know, man. But but another thing is what I loved is the fact that we're introduced to the killer from the beginning. But what I don't like is how he's introduced. Again, it felt very cliched. With Ed, first of all, I hate him as a blonde. That blonde hair is just, ugh. I love the actor, Ryan Eggold. I think it's Eggold. I love the actor. I hate that blonde hair on him. But anyway, it was always kind of that, that needy, like, hey, if you need anything, I'm right here for you. And I'm like, why are you so friendly? Why are you inserting yourself into this? Why are you telling him, hey, if you need to come in right away, come have a conversation? So I didn't like that part. I thought it was very cliche.
I certainly agree with that. It's obviously, and again, one thing I will say, yeah, I didn't like how he was introduced. I will say though, to go to your point, I do like that they introduce you to who the villain is, and they show you the psyche of both the villain as well as Alex Cross, because it's believable now that this guy can get on his level, and they can be a great matchup against each other, because he's thinking about how he analyzes other people, how he is obsessing over another character, which we will talk about a little bit later, and where he goes with that at the end of the second episode. It shows you, yeah, this guy is a psycho, but he is very thinks things through very meticulously to a degree, and that's why it's going to be very interesting to see when he finally does have this confrontation with Alex Cross, and it's revealed that he is the one that's behind this, how that dynamic is going to get out of control. Because clearly these guys, it's setting up a very good matchup between the both of them. So I do appreciate that they show you that this guy is crazy. Like, yes, they reveal who the guy is, but then they're showing you all the stuff that he's doing and why he is a real threat to Cross.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. We're not waiting, until episode 5 until they reveal it's been him the whole time. So I do like that dynamic, and I do like that we get to I describe it as going home with the character, where we literally get to see him and his life and him killing people and his interactions. And so we have that. It's not just him. They show how there are other people who are working for him and with him, which was, in episode 2, it gets really crazy. But then kind of starting off with this whole thing of, I loved how they incorporated DC. This felt very, and I hate to, compare it to other shows, but you know how The Wire was about, you could tell that it was about Baltimore and it was set in Baltimore and they made Baltimore a character. I kind of felt that way what they did with Washington. Washington and its people felt very much a part of the series. So I really did like that aspect of it. So kind of going into the thing of Alex Ross, so we talked about kind of what did you think of him. I was wondering more of, we'll talk about the killer now, because they kind of just introduced like, hey, here's the killer. A really interesting concept is that he changes the appearance of people that he's going to kill to match those of serial killers. So that is really interesting. We are introduced to a case where there is a dead black man who was a former drug dealer, who, had very long dreadlocks and everything, he was cut off, and they're convinced, they being the police, that it was a suicide. And of course, you get that one cop, well, I don't think so, Alex Ross, who looks at it and can kind of tell that, no, something's not right. So the case itself, him being murdered, and they're not knowing that they kind of get the information a little bit behind, but not knowing that this is a serial killer and the meticulous ways of which he was killed. What did you think of that, and the fact that they incorporated kind of so many issues of them dealing with the police in the black neighborhood, and also going against, they didn't say Black Lives Matter, but you could see by the protests and the signs that it was Black Lives Matter-ish, in terms of, people who were kind of, we don't trust the police, we should do our own investigation. And kind of the distrust, also not with just the police, but what's going on with the neighborhood. How did you like how they kind of incorporated that?
So I think that's a very good question. This goes back to your point when you asked, what did I think about them making this character come back as a black man? Because this is how they can really, I don't think this particular storyline would have worked if it was, because again, he's very much tied to the community. Even though with this drug dealer guy, he was aware of him and the associates and friends that he had as well. So it really dives into the psyche of, well, you are a detective, but at the end of the day, you see these things happening in the community. What are you going to do when something bad happens? What side are you going to stand on? Now, obviously, the whole conflict of them believing that that really they're questioning if the cops were involved in the murder and stuff like that. This is exactly the type of situation that I think makes it more complex and makes it more interesting, because now you can really show what actually did happen. But at the same time, it shows you how others are viewing the situation, looking, outward at what's happening. and the fact that they possibly believe that the cops had something to do with what happened to the guy, because he was activist. He was very much against what the police were doing, the activity and stuff like that. That's why I say it makes sense for them to approach the story from this angle. But I think the other interesting aspect about it is that it's not really just about that character, but then every single individual tied to that character, because he has a friend in this. He has a lot of people that are tied to him, and what we're starting to see from this episode going into the second episode, there are other people connected to this issue that are also impacted as a result of this. So it's not just the one activist that's getting taken out; it's the other guy that was a witness that tried his last phone call also getting taken out, and then of course his baby mom getting taken out. It's very brutal, string of things happening, all because of this one individual getting taken out. So it's a lot of heavy topics to deal with. Oh, you're muted.
I was muted. I had a whole paragraph that I was saying. No, I just was saying that it's really good. How I love how you have to draw this out, but still keep people interested in the case. But you can't give them everything all at once. So I do love how they're kind of teasing and making it not just, oh, this is just this one guy who wouldn't randomly kill this guy. You know what I mean? They're able to have this intricate, and we'll talk about it. There are many people that kind of work, not many people, but there are people that work with him, and how they're trying to stop witnesses, and it shows that this person is able to see, I have to clean up my mess so far, and how that's going. And I do appreciate that. And looking, we didn't have that information before, but we go on episode 2, we kind of see the people who are working together. And it's really interesting when you watch episode 1, because it's like the silhouettes of people in the dark, they're different. So the guy who breaks into the house and leaves the scarf, which I thought that was diabolical. That was incredibly diabolical. Is much different than the guy who ends up shooting the witness. It's completely different if you look at the silhouettes. I'm like, wait, that doesn't look like Ryan. I'm confused. But now we know where that came from. So I love how they're sprinkling different little clues, and later on we'll get the answer. So like that silhouette thing, and so I thought it was really great. But what did you think about not just the killing of the black guy, but we also involved Alex Cross in it, where his family is in danger? It's not like, oh, we're going after him because he's too close to the case. This is direct ties to when his wife was murdered, which we really didn't even get anything aside from like a gunshot and cut to black. And I thought it was interesting with the best friend really quickly, was like when they ran out to go see, and he just ushered the wife away, his wife away, and we never saw them again. It's like, okay, let's go. And then they just exited the scene. So what did you think about involving Cross into the whole drama as well?
I think this is the reason why this show is going to be very interesting to see how everything plays out. Because when I saw the first episode, I thought to myself, yeah, the show starts off a little bit slow. Obviously, they're introducing everyone to the character for the first time, for those that may not know who the character is, which I understand that. But then when they started to involve the fact that this killer also knows about what happened with his wife, that makes me as a viewer want to see what's going to happen now and how are they going to connect this. Because the thing about it is, like you said, when the wife got killed, it happened so quickly, you didn't really see anything. You heard the gunshot, you see she got shot, that was it. There are not really any clues that you can take from that. And obviously, the other thing is that the killer obviously knows how to get under Alex Cross's skin, because we know that, again, this is the one thing that makes him very vulnerable, is what happened to his wife, the fact that he was there, but he could not do anything to save her. So he didn't want to get too close to any case involved with his wife. And even the friend, when he was talking to the friend in this episode, where he was telling him that if, any information I find out, I'm going to give to you, but I don't want to know all this stuff because I know how crazy I would get if I did find out who killed my wife, and I would want to go after that person. Now, obviously, that is going to happen because the individual is very meticulous and very obsessive. And the fact that you saw that there was somebody that broke into the house, and there was, and then they had that scene where his daughter was in the room, and you see somebody's in the closet with a knife. I'm like, oh, wait a second now. It's, that's a very dangerous situation. So obviously we are going to get some answers as the season goes on, but clearly the fact that they're making this person so obsessed with Cross, it makes you as a viewer want to know what is the motive, why are they obsessed, why did they either kill his wife or know who killed his wife. Obviously they were involved. You have so many questions you want answered, and obviously as a viewer I would like to see where they're going to go with this. And again, one question I do have for you though is, did they already announce this has got renewed for a second season? So here's the question: Is this even going to be answered in this season, or is this going to go into season 2?
Each episode, not episode, each season is a different case.
Okay,
and it's multiple seasons.
So by the end of this season, will he finally find and get the killer of his wife? That's the question that I am wondering as a viewer. Because that feels like it might continue. I have no idea, because again, I haven't seen any other episodes yet. So to be determined.
To be determined. But yeah, so then was there anything else that you wanted to mention regarding episode 1?
No, I do like the setting of DC. Feels very much like you're a part of the city to an extent. They're trying to make the city a character as well. You mentioned the shots they have of the city. I actually, when I saw the shots and then they have the different views and stuff, I started to think a little bit of House of Cards as well, because that's another show that was, I believe, it's not obviously not the same because this is a different part of DC, but I felt that vibe when they showed the aerial shots and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Obviously, the music is different, but yeah, so far, I'm enjoying the show. I'm enjoying the cast. To go to what you said about the female lady that tried to, ignore the fact that his wife has been gone for a year.
A year.
They alluded to the fact that he's known this woman since high school, right? But I don't really know any other details aside from that. So, got to get some questions answered. But
extra grimy.
Yeah, hey, extra grimy. But I kind of knew, I knew he possibly was not going to do anything. But I don't know. But we'll have to see what happens, because again, he's still dealing with all this stuff, and obviously with the situation of what's going on now with this stalker, he obviously needs to be focused on that. He needs to be concerned about that. So I get that. But no, overall, I thought it was a great start to the season. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens from here on out.
Yeah, I completely agree. So then kind of going on with episode 2, which was called, oh my, Ride the White Horsey.
Uh-oh.
Oh, snap. I absolutely like this episode, obviously, I think more than episode 1, because a lot of things do happen. And with this episode, we dive more deeper into the case, but we're also still following the serial killer. So that in itself is interesting. And I love the fact that we get to see how he gets his victims. We didn't get that in the first episode when it came to Amir, which is spelled with an E. But we got it with this one, where there is a lovely woman that, this is why you be careful on these online dating. Be careful with these apps. But, she swipes, what is it, left, right, or whatever it is, to say, hey, I like it too. And she's all smiley and giggly. And, they have a nice little date. And they form like kind of a little friendship. And, he knows exactly to me what to say and to what to do in order to get her to like him. And it seems really nice and caring. We go to an art gallery reminds me a little bit of Vanessa and Fisk, but it ends up being much different than their relationship. Um, so they go to that nice little gallery. She's like, I would love to. She talks about her career and things that she wants to do. And he arranges like, interviews, and it's really nice. He says, "Oh, I'll help you prepare." She's like, "No, not like that." And he's like, "No, not like that." And next thing you know, you gotta stop going to people's houses. Don't go to people's houses that you don't know. Just go meet at a restaurant or the park.
Yes. I agree 100%. Let me just make a comment right now about this. Now the whole catfish thing. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, I have been catfished before. There is no way in hell that I'm still going to be talking to somebody after I see, oh, that wasn't you in the photo. So I thought that was the BS for her to still want to talk to the guy. Yes, he was very nice, but this guy is not, he lied to you about who he is. So what else is he not being truthful or sincere about, but obviously we find out some stuff later on. But I will say though, I thought that was unrealistic, because in reality, if you meet somebody in those circumstances, and you see that they are not who they say they are, that's an instant. The conversation is over. You go the other way that you came from. It's just that. So I thought that was a little silly. But again, we'll get some more answers to that. But I will say this, as someone who has gone through this before with the catfishing thing, that is not how this happens in real life. You will be gone. There will not be no, oh, well, I'm still going to talk to this person, even though they look nothing like the photos I saw. Absolutely not.
I have so many questions about this catfishing incident that we will talk about later on, but I just want to know everything. But no, with this, I completely agree with you, because it's like, oh, and he literally just said, "I've been catfished," and I
Yep.
guess he's like relying on charm, whatever. I guess. Were there any kind of like standout moments? There were a lot, but that you really liked from this episode?
Okay, yeah. I do like that it did show you just how sinister and dark this other guy is that you mentioned, because of the extent that he went to once he had got the woman, the information. Then he has her meet him at the end of the day. No, for the morning, because she had an interview that same day.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he was the hand sanitizer is how he got her. That's why I say this guy is a psychopath. He's very meticulous with thinking through all of these things. He studied her and knew exactly what would be the way to get her in that house and also to keep her there. So yes, this guy is very twisted. So and he had a conversation with the other guy working for him. I want to say his right hand man, and the right hand man warned him about Cross, saying that he could figure stuff out quickly. But this guy wants to go directly at Cross. He made that very clear.
Mm-hmm.
He warned him and said, "Hey, you don't want to. We're not going to focus on Alex Cross right now." But clearly, this guy is obsessed and wants to go after Cross. So this is why I cannot wait to see the inevitable showdown between these two characters. That's be interesting. Now, as for this right hand man, this brother here is
He's crazy.
also crazy. I don't know how I would what I would call him. I don't know if I would call him Uncle Tom or some type of other. I don't know what to call this guy, because he's obviously working.
Wait,
What?
where does Uncle Tom come from?
He's working with the enemy, right? He's working with the enemy, and they're both enemies. They're both
But how
enemies.
is he Uncle Tom?
Well, I don't know, because he's a part of the same community. He is putting on this front that he is there for the community. He's in that barbershop. So I kind of feel like he's a part of the community, but really he is turning his back on the community, or rather the individuals that are involved directly in this particular case. So maybe Uncle Tom isn't the perfect way to describe it, but I will say this guy is somebody that obviously has his own motives and wants to do whatever he wants to do. But again, like, you go to the very brutal scene of them taking out the baby mother, and we were talking about this before we started recording. they had this whole sequence where she was when she had went to the hotel, she was staying at that hotel. This guy is like right next door to the hotel, and they had that very awkward scene of him jumping around and getting very excited, snorting. That's why I say this guy mentally something's wrong.
He mixed his meth with diabetes.
Yeah, so something is very wrong with this guy. So, but I will say, when they had the scene where there was a lot of tension, obviously because she had the phone, she was able to get her baby daddy's phone when he got shot. She took the phone and she was keeping that information concealed. She was away from her kid. That's fine. But what I didn't understand is that when they got to that part of the scene where the guy, he finally came into there, you saw that he obviously was punishing her for the entirety of the time they were there. And then by the time Alice Cross and his friends gets there, it's like they're already there in the vicinity of where this is happening. I thought they would get there in time because they were already at the hotel. This is before she got her throat slit. They were there. So for it to happen that quickly and then for the guy to still escape, I was like, oh, come on now. Because I didn't really get a feeling of how he was able to escape that quickly. There were some windows that the partner did check when they walked into that room. And obviously he didn't fit through no window. So like you said before, maybe there was a back door, another exit that he got out of. That's fine. But I was like, it feels to me like it happened so quick. I thought they would have tried to catch him, at least him leaving at that point. But for some reason, he still got away. So, but
you gotta extend the show.
What's that? What?
You gotta extend the show.
Oh yeah, we got at least another 6 episodes to go, right? So I understand they wasn't going to catch him at that moment in time, but I will say yes, that was a death that did not need to happen. Very brutal to take out that woman. Luckily she forwarded the messaging over, but that was a very brutal way to take out the mother, no less. And then you leave that kid now without a father and a mother. I did not like that. So that was not a good way to go. But we understand there are casualties. There's going to be casualties because of the motives that these people have. So I do expect more bodies to drop.
I actually like the Psycho guy because it's
really?
a really great comparison. Yeah, because if you look at Ed is very meticulous. He pays attention. He knows exactly how to get you. Mm-hmm. He knew about the hand sanitizer. He's just like Cross. When he kills you, it's nothing sloppy about it. There's a lot of thought into it. With this guy, it's complete total opposite. He's high as a kite, and he's insane. It's absolutely insane, and I love that. So you see these two people who are polar opposites, and then you kind of, in the end, you kind of feel like that, hey, the crazy guy is going to just be killed by Ed eventually. And you're just waiting to see, like, how long is it going to take.
Wait, you think so?
It feels that way.
Yeah? Well,
no, they always do that. There's no reason for him to stay alive.
You don't think Cross will get to him before take him out before that happens?
There's really no reason for him to kind of stay alive, and then he just seems like one of those crazy people who'll never tell anyway, even if Cross takes him in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see him breaking. He's not someone who's breaking. He might break you, but I don't see him breaking.
Well, I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I do agree that like you say, it will be very cliche if that does happen, though, because that has happened before in other movies, TV shows, of the boss taking out the person under him because they do something ridiculous. We saw that actually in another show recently. So that's, that could happen though, for sure. But I will say this, you make a very good point about that character is very unpredictable. And that is why it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with that situation, because he can just do whatever. But I do want to see what the interaction is going to be like between him and Cross when Cross finally gets his hands on him, as well as Ed, because he's already seen Ed. He knows who Ed is. Ed has already been close to him in the woman that he's seeing right now. So that's not a good situation. But we'll see what happens.
I still think that it was so cliche to be like, hey, I'm here anytime, guys. Hey, let me help. Oh, I'm like, you're being too obvious. But one of the things that I did love about this also was just how sinister it was with the daughter. He broke into the security footage, the security cam, and
Yeah,
was talking to. I was like, oh, that's crazy. I
that's
love
why.
it.
Yeah, that's why I say that is that person is very obsessed. And I will say this: I understand that Alice Cross is he has already admitted that he does have a hero complex. He can get a little obsessed because he wants to protect everybody around him. But I will say this: if there was somebody stalking me or my family, I fully understand. I would want to do something about that because that is very uncomfortable, especially with the kids. I mean, that's just like you should not in any way be interacting with the kids whatsoever. And then one thing we didn't mention about the fact that his son was wearing his wife's scarf in the previous episode, and it's like this is stuff like this is like it's okay if you have a vendetta against somebody, you go after them directly, but I think you cross the line when you're going after their family because the family has nothing to do with the situation. It's between you. Obviously, it's between these two characters, Ed and Cross, right? So I don't know why
Well,
the
killing
family.
a wife is.
Well, yes, I understand that. Yes, he killed the wife, but they need to explain that. And again, I do hope by the end of this season we get a full explanation as to why this guy. Because the thing about it is this: I don't think that Ed just killed the wife because he wanted to. There probably was a motive behind this. I don't know if he just said, "I don't like this Alice Cross guy. Let's kill his wife." I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was, or if there is something that happened in the past that Cross did or did not was unsuccessful in doing as a detective that impacted him, and that's why he now has revenge on his mind. We got to get an answer to that because it feels like it's very random to just all of a sudden just kill someone's wife without there being a reason for it. But again, the guy is crazy, so it may not even be a reason for it.
No, I think we'll get stuff like that. But my thing, kind of going back with the whole hero complex monologue, I
Yeah.
hated it. I hated it. I'm one of those don't show. I mean, don't tell. How does it go? Don't tell. Show.
Show don't
Show
tell.
me your show.
Yeah.
Don't tell. Show me that you have a hero complex. Show me that you always have to be there to save the day.
I
And show me how you failed by doing that with your wife. Instead, it's like exposition, exposition, exposition. And I'm like, you have 8 episodes to show me this. I don't like that.
I agree.
I don't
I agree. That's a fair complaint because he had that to the monologue with his female friend, and obviously, I think I know why they did that because then in that second episode, she tried to get down with him. He said, "No, I can't do this." So I guess they want to escalate that a little bit further, but no, he shut it down. But still, I agree. They could have taken their time to show that. And then again, they had the scene, the start of this episode, when he thought somebody was breaking in, and he actually pulled the gun out on his daughter. So again, the paranoia is there. This is why I say if they got to that point in the second episode, I'll be very curious to see how he's going to be acting in the next couple of episodes because clearly this person is going to continue to stalk him. They're going to continue to get close to the family and try to mess with his head. So I'm very curious to see. He's probably going to go off the deep end.
right.
We'll see what happens.
Right. And one of the things that I did like about this episode was how they showed when people try to take things into their own hands because they distrust the police. So
Mm-hmm.
you had the whole cell phone with the girl with the baby mama. I don't like that term, baby mama. With the
Yeah, I don't like the
girlfriend.
term either.
Because it's
What
not
is
baby mama. This was an
I think
upstanding man. They just wasn't married.
yeah, I think her name is Vanessa, right? I think that's what her name was,
Yes.
Vanessa or something like that. Yeah.
So with that character, what I really liked about it is how they show that what happens when you try to take things into your own hands.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it didn't go very well with her, but how they purposely try to hide evidence because they feel that that the police doesn't really care. Here's another black guy. They already tried to say that he committed suicide. It doesn't seem like they're going after the case at all. So I really did appreciate showing that aspect of what happens when you try to get. It's not even like you're trying to kill somebody and get justice. It's more of trying to get information, and she was not wrong. It was just unfortunate that this is what she came across, was that crazy guy. But I did like that. How did you feel about the whole storyline dealing with Vanessa? Now her son is parentless.
Well, I didn't like that part. You know, I will say I know the monologue that Alex Cross had with the kid at the end. I think that was a very emotional monologue. And again, Mr. Hodge is a good actor, so that is a type of scene where you're trying to explain to the kid what happened, but you're trying to tell them you're a superhero, be positive, you can get through anything in this life, but that's still a very tough situation to have to tell him, and he really wasn't the one in the position to tell the kid what happened to his mom. It wasn't his job to do that, but trying to give him a positive mindset to say, whatever something bad happens, just know you can get through anything. I guess that was meant to be a little uplifting. It's just a very tough situation to be in, because again, I go back to all the stuff that happened in this episode. I think to myself, yes, they didn't know where she was at. I understand that, but I kind of felt like that could have been prevented if they would, because they were there. It's just that the timing, it just happened quickly because the way that they shot that entire sequence, right? You're on the edge of your seat waiting. Oh, they got there just in time. So they're surely they're going to stop this from happening, right? They're going to stop it in some capacity, but no, they didn't. And then when I saw that, I went back to again the hero complex stuff. The fact that he is powerless to stop something when it's already happened. It makes sense now why this happened, because this is meant to make him feel deflated once again that they weren't able to stop this from happening. So I understand what they're doing. I hope does not become something that it happens in every episode, though. There's a victim that gets taken out and then they're not able to do something. At some point, you got to get some wins in this entire thing here. But I will say, yeah, the whole thing with the kid and the mother, I knew something bad was going to happen to the mother in the episode, because the minute she decided to go off on her own, because she didn't want to be near her son with all this stuff going on with the phone, I kind of figured something bad was going to happen. But still, and again, I didn't think that particular character was going to be the one to take her out. I figured maybe Ed was going to do something, but Ed was preoccupied with the other woman in this episode. So clearly he had this other guy look into this situation. I do want to see how he will react in the next episode, because I don't know if he told that guy. I don't recall him telling that guy to do whatever you need to do to fix this, even meaning taking out her. I don't know if he said that to him, and I would have to go back to see if he said that to him in the episode. But I kind of want to know what his reaction is going to be when he finds out that this guy took her out, how he's going to feel about that, or is he not going to have any reaction, whatever. He's going to say, good job, you did what needed to be done. So I do need to see what happens in the next episode.
I'm concerned with him being sloppy. This is
Yes.
why I think he has to go, because it was sloppy. First, he's high as a kite when he did the killing. He doesn't look like someone who cleans up after himself after getting high. Remember, the music was blasting, the coke was flying.
Yep.
He was all jumping around and like, he's very loud.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's a mess. When he slit her throat, this is because I've watched so many of these kind of documentaries. What evidence did he leave behind? See,
Yep.
Ed is the kind of person who was like the blonde hair and will tie it into the scarf. This guy is like blood everywhere, evidence everywhere, and just happened to get out before time. But that's just kind of what I was wondering with that dynamic, because it's kind of sloppy. But then again, from a writing standpoint, it can throw you off, because here you have two people with these two different dynamics, and they don't know that they're working together. So it
That's
could,
the
in a
thing.
way, look like two different kind of killings. These are two different murderers, and when they find her, the girl, which is supposed to look like Eileen Woodrow. I think her last name is Woodrow. She was the first female serial killer who was executed.
Mm-hmm. And
Charlize Theron played her in the movie.
yeah, I know who you're talking
She
about.
won the Oscar for Monster.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, yeah, you make a very good point, because I imagine that Alice Cross now he might think, well, the person that committed this murder is the same person that killed my wife. He doesn't suspect there's another individual involved. So clearly, if he gets to this guy first, and if for some reason Ed doesn't take him out and he gets rid of this guy, he may think, oh, everything is fine now. We're all in the clear, but yet this guy is still there in the background. The real guy he need to be concerned about is there. So but I will say this: I am curious, because you said you believe that Ed is going to take this guy out. The fact that I go back to that conversation that this guy had with Ed, and he was telling him, because Ed is like, he really wants to go after Alice Cross. He's saying, no, I don't think you should do that. That's why I thought, well, hey, Alice Cross is probably going to take this guy out, and now Ed will have no restriction to go directly after Cross. So that's why. But I don't know. But again, they can go in a different direction with this, the way that you suggested, or a different way. So I'm curious to see what happens in the next.
But he is directly going after Cross. That's the thing, though. The guy wants to like break down the door and pow, 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 you're dead. This guy is doing it psychologically to him. He's messing with his, here's the scarf. Yeah. Here's the one long blonde piece of hair that was tied in. Now I'm talking to your kid over the surveillance that you set up. Mm-hmm. So you got that. Then on top of that, what else is he doing? He's I forgot. But you know what I mean? There's so many things that he broke into the house.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful. He was in the room.
Yep.
So the other guy doesn't seem like he has, one, the patience to do that, and two, maybe not the intelligence to be so meticulous to say, let me break into this, let me mess with him on a psychological level. He's the kind of guy who's like, roar, coke, roar, coke, that kind of thing. Yep. And that works for him, but it's completely different behavior. So it's like, I'm going to find you online and break into your house before I match with you. Oh my God.
Yes. So
I don't know if he matched first and then broke in, or broke in and then matched.
That's a good question. I don't know. What I will say, though, what this show does teach a very valuable lesson. The valuable lesson is, do not do drugs and do not talk to strangers. So hopefully these are the two lessons that people will learn for. Well, obviously anyone that watches this show.
And their house.
Well, say what?
Don't go to their house.
Well, yeah, don't go to their house. But she should have never ever, when she saw that this guy was not who they were supposed to be, that would say, oh, hell no, I'm not talking to this. Who the hell is this guy? I'm not talking to this guy. So that's when I saw
that. I feel like
that's ridiculous. Well, go ahead.
I'm just upset that she went to his house. I don't care what time of day it is. It's his house. He knows the layout of his house. You don't eat other people's food, and you don't go to other people that you don't even know.
Yes.
You don't know. You go, oh, well, you're moving too fast. When the dude invited you, hey, breakfast. No, you're moving too fast. But then you go to his house.
Yep. Absolutely. She really wanted that bacon and that coffee that he was advertising. Some bacon and coffee.
And then, bacon and coffee. And then she was like, no, I don't want it like that. This wasn't like, Luke Cage with that coffee. This was like, she said no to that. And then you go to his house. Yep. Why are we not at the park? It's just frustrating. That's so frustrating to me, because it's like, come on. You're an adult. Stop being a child. But yeah. So kind of, any final thoughts with this episode?
Yes. A lot of, like you said, a lot happened in this episode. A lot much quicker paced. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. I want justice for the little kid. You know, so obviously I will be rooting for something to happen to this guy that killed his mom. But I also want to see what Ed's reaction will be to this entire situation, because I don't really know if he is aware of what all went down quite yet. I'm pretty sure he knows. He heard that the woman died, because it's in the news now. So I do want to see how he reacts to this, and where they go from here. And also, I want to see what they're going to continue to do to try to mess with Cross, because clearly, judging by the trailer that they showed for the next episode, they're going to do a lot more stuff to Cross. So looking forward to seeing where they go with this. But so far, a better episode than the first episode. And I'm liking where they're going. So looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't like L at this point, and I don't like Ross when it comes to him jumping in a relationship. Only a year. God damn, only a year. I mean, you sat there and you he's dead.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. Before you give the final thoughts. Do you think that because they had the interaction with him and the girl, and they both had the interaction with Ed, do you think that Ed is going to try to take her out? That character might be
Yes.
taken out. Yes.
Yes, he's going to have to start doing things that is against his playbook, because right now we only know that he's killing people solely based on trying to recreate the murder, the serial killers, from my understanding. So and it's not to say that he hasn't killed anyone else outside of the main portrait, because I think he's trying to create works of art. Because remember that book that he had. This is why he has such a great interest in art. It's like a really sick version of Fisk.
Yeah.
Remember Fisk's love of art and galleries. So I think he's killed before, which is fine, but it's only when he has to. In terms of that's separate from his little purpose, which is album collection. So yeah, I think that right there, because they established right away how close they are. They established how, that relationship that I don't like, and then how they're trying to cross over to that other relationship that I don't like. So yeah, and it kept saying, these are childhood friends. And I also think that the best friend is also going to be in trouble as well, because he can be used easily to get to Cross. And I think someone between the two of them is going to die. And it would be most likely the girl. Oh, come on, you have to kill a friend.
So you're saying there will be no happy ending for Cross. He ain't gonna ever get in another relationship.
Especially not after a year. Good Lord, wouldn't that be extra traumatic?
Well, also let's also address one other thing. He does have the other friend that has been helping him. This other female, officer. I don't know if she's a detective, whatever. She could also be somebody that could get taken out also. So I will add her in there as well.
But I'm okay with her dying, because they established. But they're like, hey, my work buddy. They've established a close relationship between the best friend and Elle. Yeah. So those two, I think, would be more better to be murdered, as opposed to, oh, he is my partner at work.
I agree. Yeah. Well, I will say this. Yeah. I like this. This guy who was the actor, the former Old Spice actor. They had a joke about that in this episode. Don't kill this brother off, all right? Because he's good so far as a supporting character, but it is what it is. If it happens, it happens.
I'm okay with episode 5. You got to start doing some things.
Yes.
Or at least 6. 6, you gotta definitely start doing some things. So I'm okay with him dying, but I thought overall this episode was really good. As you stated before, more fast paced. I liked the first episode, by the way. I think I might be the only one who did. And it's okay. I had fun with it, and I did. I liked it. I just don't like aspects of it.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad episode. It's just like it's a little bit slower. Felt like the scene with his wife getting killed, that was just so fast. It happened so quickly. It's like, and then a year later, what the hell happened between this scene and that scene. That's a crazy time jump. But no, it is what it is. But they needed to explain the character for those that don't know the character. So I'm okay with that. But looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to see what happens as well, and more of the captain who needs to just chill.
Yeah.
He's like hilarious, but it's
Yeah.
kind of the cliche. The captain doesn't believe me. I'm the only man for the job. So yeah, but I liked it. It was good. What's good happened with episode 3? I think they had a really great cliffhanger. That's like,
Yeah,
oh well, now I have to watch because
absolutely.
now she's kidnapped. So we'll see what happens. So I think that's everything. Um, so is there anything that you want to promote, Mr. Bailey Jr.?
Oh no, for those of you watching, thank you for your continued support. Continue to watch here on the entertainment channel. We're going to be recapping the rest of this show. I believe Dana and Danny have already been recapping stuff that has happened at D23 and some reactions to some of the things that's happened with the trailers. So feel free to check out that content. As for the other Koalition stuff, there is some gaming stuff that I've been working on that is currently on the website. There'll be quite a bit of things coming to the YouTube channel as well. So stay tuned for that. But if you're here on the entertainment channel, you're in the right place. Stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff coming for you guys.
Yes. We have interviews with Alex Cross, entire Alex Crossness. So we have interviews with the writers, the creators, Aldis. We did a lovely press conference, so we have that coming up. We also have an interview with, help me with his name, Old Spice. I don't want to call him Old Spice. What was
Isaiah
the
Mustafa?
actor? Isaiah Mustafa.
Yeah.
I keep saying Mufasa, and I don't mean
I mean,
to, but it's how I can remember the name.
No, it is Mustafa. That's correct.
Mustafa. So we have interviews with Alex Mustafa. We have interviews with the lovely victim of the series. And we also have not victims. We also have interviews with the writer and the creator. We have victims everywhere. And then, as you guys already know, we're doing Gladiator. We have interviews with that. And we have interviews with 15,000 other people. We're gonna do Moana soon. So yay for Moana. Wicked will be soon. It will be coming very soon. I will be seeing that very soon. Right? No one mourns the wicked. So we will see how that ends up being because I've watched that since I was like, I don't know. Okay. I'm blabbing. So we have a lot of more interviews coming up. We have more DC 23 stuff coming up. We have interviews from DC 23, not DC, D23 Brazil. So we have more interviews with that, and we have more Disney stuff. We have the highly anticipated Out of My Mind movie from Disney Plus that we did the whole cast and everyone, and we have more stuff that is coming up. Just stay tuned to the entertainment channel because I keep saying more stuff. We have more stuff. So once again, I have been your host Dana, and I have been joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. We will see you next week. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this, and thank you once again. Leave us your comments on what did you think about the Cross series, what you liked, what you didn't like, and everything that's going on. So thank you so much. We'll catch you later.